Well, as we continue on through Holy Week, thought I would take a few minutes about talk a little bit about the Christian profession of faith. I believe most denominations recite either the Apostles' Creed or Nicene Creed. Now, both of these creeds go back in history and describe what we as Christians actually believe. But what actually is this belief? I mean, there's a whole litany of data there, but where does it all start? I guess, too, why do we go through the bother of repeating this each week after week after week? Now, one thing we have to recognize, of course, is that most people's memory fades, or actually can sometimes changes over time. This is nothing strange or uncommon. As a matter of fact, if it didn't, that would probably be more uncommon. But think back to those earliest times when maybe you can remember a big event in your life. You know, what clothes were you wearing? How did you fix your hair? Remember this very well, right? Now go take a look at a picture from that event. There's some slight and some large variations then from what we remember. And it's just part of the deal, I guess. So, the best way to remind ourselves of what we believe and what we say is at least say it time after time. At least that way we can at least say what we believe. So, we have to set a few ground rules, though. First, our desire to know God is written on our heart. So, by that I mean from the actual core of our existence, we really recognize that we come from God. Now, while our mothers and fathers obviously played a big role in this, the role that God played is over and far beyond that. Our soul, our very being, come from God, and we are far more than a result of sperm and ovum cells getting together. Now, when we look down deep into ourselves and do a little bit of introspection, we can recognize the fact that we are more than just a body. You know, that is I, the person me, which we say I believe. There are a few things that we have to look at. There's obviously the body, as there's the soul. Maybe it might be heard of as a life force. Lots of words for it, but for our sake, no better word than I'll just use our soul. Then there's the intellect, which we have. With that comes our will. There's more to this, but you can see that each of us are far more than just a body. Now, most of these things which we talk about as being human really is at the core of religion. Obviously, God's there, but really working and getting to know ourselves is pretty critical to having a good relationship with God. If one doesn't understand or admit the good and bad things that we find within ourselves, trying to know God is somewhat of a pointless venture. This potential roadblock is actually quite common, though. We have, over the years, found many ways to speak about God and to God. Long before Judaism or Christianity, people still had that same calling to be with the Creator. But anytime we try to talk about God, tend to come up short. Our human words simply do not have the capacity to talk about God. And some, even if we do find words, maybe just don't have the right words, and those that do, maybe just some people find it troubling, no matter what. For instance, Christians tend to talk about God as Father or Abba, etc. This works well and does speak to certain aspects of God. However, one has to know what a father is and what a father does. If, for instance, one had an abusive father, then this concept is not going to be able to have that free and fruitful relationship. The only possibility is that person works through and comes to grips with their hurts and attitudes, which may, after time, allow the idea of father to be not such a bad one. Many people, though, tend to ignore this part of the religion, and they try to create their own workarounds. And while they may be able to have a relationship with God, that either stunts its growth or, worse yet, ends up creating God in their own image. Now, God, of course, can work around this and has for millennia now, But some of these things should be looked at and resolved. Perhaps the biggest issue is finding out about ourselves. It's a pretty scary prospect. Our ego wants us to be perfect. The thought of looking deeply into our own quirks and imperfections simply scare us. Some people can look at this, not bat an eye. Others need help, lots of it. This is where our own individually come in. But at the basic level, we do know that God is good and He made us. He made us good, so no matter what we may have come across, God gave it to us for a purpose. And that is critical for us to understand who and what we really are. See, once these roadblocks are cracked, they tend to fall pretty quickly, and one finds out that they are pretty good and indeed are worthy of being loved. Then they can love others, including God. Then getting into a good and productive relationship with God allows us to fully understand what it is we believe and how we can apply that belief. Then there comes the life that you were meant to lead. It's finally begun. So have a great day, be good, play nice, thank God.